Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another TV show spoiler review, and we're on season 2 of X-Men Evolution, and we're picking up some new characters along the way. Again, towards the end, things are gonna start really ramping up, getting into season 3. But first, before we continue, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. You can also follow me in the links in the description below, like my Twitch channel, my Patreon if you want to become like a $1 Patreon member for exclusive reviews that you want for me to check out for you guys, my Twitter and my Instagram. By the way, thank you, Henrik, several sevens that recently followed me. Yeah, thank you so much. So anyway, yeah, we got probably like the longest, it's definitely the longest episodic season. That's why it wasn't like, quick with getting this out as I probably would have liked to, but it's definitely like some stuff in here that I thoroughly enjoyed. A few episodes I thought kind of lackluster personally, but like I said, there's some new characters involved here, which I'm glad there were some episodes dedicated to give them some screen time. But honestly, I think only like the character Boom Boom has probably more screen time than any of the other characters, few of which as very prominent members of the X-Men growing up. But let's begin, because we got Iceman, Cannonball, Magma, Jubilee, Berserker, Sunspot, Boom Boom, Wolfsbane, and Multiple Man. But we already covered like the powers of Iceman, Cannonball, and Jubilee from my comic book reviews of Iceman and Jubilee comics. But Cannonball I covered when I was going over Cable, a Cable comic, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Check out my thoughts on those comics and the characters themselves. So we'll go with Magma, aka Amara Aquila. And in the past, I mean, there were some instances where she appears to be like a Caucasian woman, but more often than not, she's portrayed as I don't want to get this wrong. I guess like Rome, I guess. But she seems like more, sometimes you come across like, Puerto Rican or some kind of Hispanic descent, honestly. Or Incan, more than likely. But because she has like some, like a bit of a darker skin tone sometimes. But her powers are geokinesis, can psionically control the movement of tectonic plates within the Earth's crust. The ability is of relatively short range, probably no more than a radius of a few city blocks. But within this area, she can create both small and large earthquakes. Geothermokinesis, she can cause magma molten rock from deep within the Earth to rise and break through the surface, forming miniature volcanoes. She can also turn nearby rock molten and telekinetically project fiery blasts of magma at targets. Magma's power to create small or large earthquakes and volcanic eruptions is linked to her emotions. She has a magma form, kind of like Bobby Drake's kind of ice form. When using her powers, Magma's body shines with intense light and gives off tremendous heat. Her hair seems ablaze with fiery light, and neither her own heat nor heat from any other known source can harm her while in this form. She is also not blinded by the light that her magma form radiates. Although she has triggered small earth tremors without taking on this glowing form, she has never been seen to use her lava blast while in her ordinary human appearance. Pyrokinesis. Magma can create flames and project blasts of heat that do not contain any molten rock. However, she apparently prefers to shoot molten rock blasts rather than simple heat blasts. Perhaps because the magma blasts have a solid concussive impact that can knock down a target. The highest level of heat that magma can generate is not known yet, but it is believed that she can reach at least 850 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. She also skilled at sword fighting. Has knowledge of ancient Roman culture. She can heal simultaneously when touched by some heat substances. Weaknesses. She can unintentionally create major earthquakes and large-scale volcanic activity by losing control of her temper and becoming unusually angry. Aquila seems to be a spelling variation of Aquila, Latin for eagle. Aquila was also the name of the eagle standard used a symbol of the Roman legions. Next, Berserker. Quickly go over. Ray Carter. Electrokinesis. Berserker's powers allow him to generate and control pulsing bolts of electrical energy. He did this by absorbing and manipulating the energies of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. He could also fly and tap into, absorb, observe, or listen to television or radio broadcasts, phone transmissions, and digital signals. Next, that was pretty fast too. Sunspot. They don't really use Berserker all that much. I'm surprised he even got any kind of like love in any kind of X-Men media, because he was in Wolverine and the X-Men too. Okay, Roberto de Costa. Okay, solar radiation absorption. He can absorb solar energy and utilize it for physical strength. The cells of normal human body convert energy from foodstuffs into a form of energy usable by the body. This energy is stored through converting molecules of adenosine diphosphate in the cells into adenosine triphosphate. The energy is released when necessary, but breaking a chemical bond in the ATP molecules converted then back to ADP. Apparently, Sunspot can store solar-derived energy in his cells through the same or a similar method and release it when necessary to enhance his physical strength. His body is cloaked in darkness because he drains all the ambient light from his skin. Solar rechanneling. He possessed the ability to rechannel the solar energy with which his body absorbs, by which he takes the solar energy and uses it for a variety of related purposes. Ftl Flight. Ability to fly himself through the air by force of will by generating thermal updrafts. Bobby has also refine this ability to be able to hover in the air without leaving a heat trail and reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour maximum without overexerting himself, reaching speeds of 750 miles per hour in his overcharged state. He can purportedly reach escape velocities by way of breaching planetary orbit and achieve space travel. Enhanced strength. His sunspot cells are powered by solar energy. He has the superhuman ability to augment his physical strength. The original limits of his strength was that of 2 tons. Since then, however, his strength level increased to 50 tons, possibly more, as he was able to deck an alt universe Holt, drawing blood from him while landing a single blow. Sunspot's strength later increased to unstable levels as a side effect of the Mpox infection. During the game between the Grandmaster and the Challenger, Sunspot considered himself to be the strongest mutant on Earth, but using that much power would eventually be lethal to him. Ever since his resurrection, Sunspot's powers not only seem to have stabilized, but metasized in odd ways, once boasting of how he was stronger than Magister Gladiator of the Shi'ar, and proving some merit to his claim by temporarily restraining him as he and the New Mutants battle it out with his Imperial Guard. Enhanced speed, reflexes, agility, durability. Sunspot is one of the interesting powerhouses of the Marvel Universe due to the fact that he is one of the only ones that does not have heightened invulnerability. During many of the comics that Sunspot was seen with his teammates would remind him that he was super strong but not super durable. Although Sunspot has not been seen able to deflect bullets, his limited durability does provide his body the needed protection to be able to lift the massive weight that his super strength allows him to. However, this appears to have been contradicted, as has taken a bomb blast from a device latched onto his side and come out unscathed, taking blows from Smasher with some discomfort, survive a laser blast to the face from the AIM Scientist Supreme, and endure the rigors of interplanetary travel without suffering ill effects. Thermokinesis, ability to project heat in intense waves when he absorbs and rechannels solar energy from any part of his body to raise the temperature. Photokinesis. Sunspot has the underlying ability to project, drain, and cast light as intense waves from absorbing and rechanneling solar energy, as well as ambient EM wavelengths. Thermokinetic concussive energy blast. During Sunspot time with X-Force, he was kidnapped by a supervillain named Gideon, who performed various experiments on him. Gideon exposed Sunspot's body to massive amounts of solar radiation, solar energy, in order to test the limits of his absorption. After these experiments, Sunspot's body was overloaded with solar energy, and he later gained the ability to fire blasts of heat and concussive force. Dark solar plasma blast, the ability to project concussive dark plasma energy blasts from his hands, with about 20 tons of force behind them at most powerful. Energy absorption, self-sustenance, fire and heat immunity. He's a trained martial artist, trained under the likes of Wolverine and other mutants in combat. He further honed his skills against strong opponents such as Captain America, Black Panther, and Daredevil. Trained in Brazilian martial arts of capoeira. He's a skilled soccer player, businessman, He owns his own company. He's a CEO of DaCosta International. Multilingual, speaks English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Skilled tactician. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Boom Boom, I'm so interested. Like Boom Boom was a fun character in the show, and also like kind of had a tragic situation. Tabitha Smith. I think X-Men Evolution is probably my favorite interpretation of Boom Boom, honestly. She did show up a little bit in the 90s X-Men cartoon. I think a little bit in the Wolverine and the X-Men as well. Okay, quickly go over her powers. Time bombs. Tabitha can create balls of plasma, which she calls her time bombs. These bombs explode with concussive force. She can produce marble-sized bombs which have little concussive impact and which she uses for playing pranks. She has produced time bombs ranging from the size of beach balls, which, when they explode, can smash tree trunks and even metal objects. The amount of concussive impact depends on the size of the bombs she creates, and she can, at least to some extent, control the amount of time until it detonates. After training with X Factor and adventuring with X Force, she has learned increasingly greater control of the energy she generates. She can now muffle the sound of the detonation to a limited extent and generate explosive energy as streams that responds to her thought directions. Now possessing greater control over her powers, she can even reabsorb the energy of undetonated bombs and is no longer afraid to use her time bombs in nearly lethal ways. Tabitha's habit of changing codenames has led to allies using mocking comments, such as Machine Man stating she had about 9 codenames, and Elsa Bloodstone replying they all sucked. Or Sage telling her that she changed her codenames like others did their underwear, including a joke Dr. Madam Explode. Dr. Madam Explode. But we all know her as Boom Boom. Wolf's Bane. Like I've seen Wolfsbane here and there in like 90s comics, but I haven't really like understood like her history. And she showed up in that New Mutants movie thing, which like I really don't want to like do a review on that because I think that's gonna be like left by the wayside. Rain Sinclair. Mutant power to transform herself into a wolf at will, or into a traditional form which combines human and Lupian aspects, including lycanthropy. Much like the werewolves of folklore, Rain can transform into a wolf. However, she is not a werewolf and therefore is not restricted to the limitations of a creature of the night. She can also retain full memory of herself and therefore has her human consciousness while in her wolf and traditional forms. In other traditional forms, she is able to stand erect on her legs and retain the use of her hands, but is also able to run and maneuver on all fours like a wolf. Enhanced size, proportionally greater in size than that of her human form. Her hybrid wolf-human bones and muscles make Wolfsbane taller and stronger. This form also has higher weight and mass than her human form. Rain could reach a height of roughly 8 feet and a weight of 400 pounds in her traditional form, and roughly 12 feet when standing on her hind legs, and a weight of over 1,000 pounds in her full Lupin form. Has strength, stronger than a normal male adult human. Speed, reflexes, heightened keen senses, claws, fangs, regenerative healing factor, enhanced vision, and psychic rapport. In Lupin form, Rain has an empathic link with Daniel Moonstar. Weaknesses. While in her Lupin form, Wolfsbane can not only communicate with others, instead she has the vocal cords of a cannot orally communicate with others. Instead, she has the vocal cords of a wolf and therefore barks, growls, and howls as one. Although in this form she is capable of communicating telepathically with Daniel Moonstar, she does not often work with her former New Mutant teammates. While she may retain her human consciousness, she is more prone to wild behavior. This can sometimes dull her intelligence or override her usual upright and moral consciousness. Rain was previously unable to grow her hair longer than a few inches in length. She was able to grow longer hair while locked in her traditional form after leaving Genosha, and again when she was deprived of her mutant powers. And the last one, Multiple Man, which is pretty much self-explanatory. It's like cloning himself. And James Madrow, which we saw him a little bit in X-Men: The Last Stand, but in this show he's just like probably like definitely like a high schooler, but like a freshman. He's like kind of small for his age. It's like 8th grade or freshman high school kind of stuff. Okay. He's a changeling in a way. Kinetic duplication. Jamie creates identical physical duplicates of himself upon physical impact. This process is spontaneous and cannot be prevented by Madrow. Although he can create multiple duplicates, and the duplicates themselves can also replicate, each is only able to create one duplicate at a time. He used to have an upper limit of 40 dupes, but that is no longer the case. The duplicates think, feel, and act independently, and each tends to manifest one aspect of Madrow's personality. Duplication experience transference. When Madrow merges back, he retains memories, knowledge, and experiences of the dupe. At first, his absorbed memories would feel like watching TV. However, at some point, Jamie's powers became defective, and he could no longer distinguish his memories from that of his dupes. In addition to that, whenever one of his dupes died, he would immediately inherit his memories without having to absorb them. After coming back to life, it appears he's lost this ability. Duplication healing. Absorbing an injured dupe formerly resulted in the prime Madrox suffering an injury half as severe, but he currently suffers no injury whatsoever. Notable dupes. Proteus, possessed dupe. Proteus once possessed a Madrox duplicate in order to escape confinement on Mirror Island, killing him at the instant he possessed him. It was the first dupe to die, causing trauma to Jamie. Fallen Angels and Nasty Boys dupe. One of Madro's evil dupes joined the Nasty Boys, the first to show real independence, dragging Jamie to go to USA with Mora and join the Fallen Angels. Later came back and impersonated the original, absorbing him for a short time, unknowing it was on the real Madro's authorization. Independent mutated Madroxes. During his trip to the US, the Fallen Angels dupe created a duplicate who wanted to live for himself. His source paradoxically stated it was the first dupe who denied to remerge. His difference was shown by incomplete independence on his source duplicate. Chicago dupe, the dude that lived in Chicago and married Sheila DeSoto, crime boss Edward Vance's fiance. He was later assassinated by Clay. Shaolin monk dupe. This dupe was sent by Madrox Prime to the Shaolin Monastery to study meditation. He later returned for absorption. Homosexual dupes. Several dupes have demonstrated or discussed some homosexual feelings and/or tendencies. EMT dupe, one of Madrox's many dupes who trained as a paramedic. And not an anatomy class dupe. One of Madrox's many dupes audited an anatomy class for 6 months. Russian dupe, lived in Moscow. The X Factor dupe. This dupe once tried to kill Richter and later remerged in a time to blow up Singularity investigations. James Madrox Esquire. A dude that passed the bar exam. Agent Madrox. A dude that was he made contact with Val Cooper, who set him up with her connections at S.H.I.E.L.D. Hef dupe. After celebrating and heavy drinking, Madrox bumped into a wall and created a dupe that later sleeps with Serene and Monet, or both. Jamie describes this dupe as his libido unleashed. The result of the union was the conception of Sean Madrox. Father John Madrox. John, who originally created to learn from the world and sent to study religion. While studying, he changed his name to John Madrox, married, started a family, and became an Episcopal pastor. Jamie decided not to absorb him because of his family and life. World's greatest detective dupe. After going to Detroit and Chicago to study investigation, criminal justice, and police work, this dupe became disillusioned with society and the justice system. When Madrox came to reabsorb him, he claimed to have been the world's greatest detective. He also claimed to know why Madrox dupes were becoming more unpredictable. The source of Madrox powers was coming, and Uber. This knowledge caused him to turn to drinking. Finally, before Madrox would reabsorb this dupe, he shot a dirty cop and was gunned down by the police in order to spare Madrox Prime the burden of knowledge. Cortex, one of two dupes sent into only remaining two futures and with mutants. Cortex encountered Damian Tripp and was altered to serve Tripp's purposes. So I can't go over this. There's so many. Madrox has acquired extensive knowledge and skills via the duplicates' experiences, such as human anatomy, Russian speaking, Shaolin monk stealth techniques. Is also a certified lord. Equipment, kinetic dampening suit. Magdrux once wore a suit that dampened kinetic impact so that he wouldn't duplicate from accidental impacts. Trivia: the plural form of Magdrux has been given as both Madri and Magdruxes. The Madri apparently can have different food allergies from each other. So it's pretty much like Naruto, but only with cloning. This is basically what it is. Okay, now that we went over like the new guys involved in the show, we're reaching to the point where the Brotherhood is making a move by finally like showing the world that mutants exist, little by little. Of course, Xavier has been trying to keep his stuff under wraps until the tail end, where like Magneto just like had it like, no, we should not have to hide who we are. There's enough hiding. We're doing it for too long, Charles. And he, set up Wolverine with Trask, who shows up at the tail end. What's his first name? Boulevard Trask. And you get the first appearance of a Sentinel. As a matter of fact, because Sentinels has gone through a lot of changes over the years and their capabilities. A lot of them do a lot of things, but their primary function is to detect mutants, and some has been, modified to counteract certain abilities. Like in one episode in the 90s X-Men TV show, one Sentinel was modified to not be affected by Magneto's magnetic powers. We also get the introduction of Beast, Hank McCoy in this, and I love this one. I really do, because of course Hank McCoy is always a great character, but here he's like not only a high school coach, but also the high school science teacher. And of course, here's the thing. Before Hank McCoy got his blue fur from trying to like take this formula to cure himself of his mutation, in the original comics he had like big hands and big feet to show that he has some kind of mutation, and that's what got him so ostracized. Here he looks like just like a normal strong well-cut man. I kind of wish they kind of do something to highlight like a bigger, at the very least bigger than normal hands or something. I'm not sure, but it's just like, it just seems like a normal guy that went through like some kind of because like he's supposed to be like a mutant, but it doesn't seem like that. It seems like those classic werewolf type of situations, and he's trying to cure himself. But I guess that's the whole point of him like wigging out in like an animal. But I don't know, it wasn't really working for me to like, because it makes sense in comics and other iterations of Hank McCoy where you see his large feet and hands, so it stands the reason why like he wants to be able to like cure himself so that way he doesn't walk around and draw attention. It doesn't seem like he's drawing attention. It just seems like he's having like some kind of manic episode. That I do like the fact that, because Hank McCoy is very well read, not just with science, but with like philosophy, Shakespeare, things like that. And he quotes lines from Shakespeare to try to center himself to keep his focus. But when he starts like, messing with the formula to try to cure himself, that turns him into the beast that we know. And I like this episode because it's kind of like a Halloween episode. I remember back in the day, because it really set it up like a Halloween type of episode, because he's kind of like a, not traditionally, but it's kind of like a werewolf type of situation. Um uh we a Boom Boom's episode where she's kind of like a wild child, but you can see why she got that wild streak, because we see her father, who is pretty much like a criminal scumbag who's trying to exploit her in order to rob places. You know, the mom doesn't want anything to do with her, and trying to, and even expressly told Xavier not to let this guy anywhere near their daughter. So after this confrontation with Tabitha and the X-Men and the father, who's trying to rob this carnival of its like earnings, he gets busted and Tabitha gets bailed out, but she feels like she doesn't belong with the X-Men anymore, and then she starts bunking with the Brotherhood, because I guess she hasn't like taken the time to reconcile with like dealing with her, you know, issues with the father, and she's a teenager, so she's just like just want to have fun, and she doesn't really take things seriously. She's not in any way evil, but she is tend to be reckless. But she has some kind of flirtatious thing between Nightcrawler, but he ends up with this girl who having to notice him changing out of the image inducer and teleporting, which she's not freaked. Unlike I recently did like a review of Emma Frost comic, which you can check out on my YouTube channel as well, where her high school crush was she confided in him about her mutant powers. He freaked out and left. So it all depends. It's like always like a coin flip with a lot of mutants who are trying to be with certain people that are not mutant themselves, and you never know what to expect from these people unless they already were privy to you being a mutant. But it was like a decent episode with Boom Boom, but it's like, you know, she then goes to the Brotherhood and then breaks into Mystique's room, which is, you know, very lavish compared to everything else in this big house that's all decrepit and dilapidated. And I'm like, first and foremost, which we see Mystique show back up again, and I kind of like this new redesign because he seems a little bit more reptilian, given the fact that she's shapeshift, so kind of because camouflaging and everything like that. I like this kind of reptilian look she got going on. But why would somebody like Mystique don't either A, get her own place where it's nice and everything like that and she can go in whenever she please, but B, if she wants to look over these guys, you wouldn't want to have like a nicer place for y'all to live in with food and like decent shelter and doesn't look like it's haunted. That was very odd to me, and I kind of expect Boom Boom to like, you know, get more in her face because she got this arrogance about her, and like she was gone for a while and then she comes back and start chastising these guys because like, when's the last time you went up get the X-Men? And it's like, bitch, you've been gone for months and you gotta come and storm in and start making like, you know, commands to people. You're like, yeah, sure, she's skilled combatant, but the most she does is shapeshift. Yeah, all these guys can easily dogpile on her. and Boom Boom especially can like just lob bombs at her. But she comes back after breaking out the Scarlet Witch, who was institutionalized by Magneto a long time ago because her powers were unstable because she was emotionally unstable. And of course, we also see Agatha Harkness, OG Agatha Harkness, who's like a decrepit old woman, and not Catherine Hahn that we know her as of today. But kudos to Scarlet, the Wanda and Vision TV show that really brought out Agatha Harkness into the zeitgeist now. But yeah, Mystique all through this season has been manipulating things behind the scenes or keeping a watchful eye on stuff by taking the appearance of this student called Mitzi or Risty, who I forgot about this because she initially I thought, oh, this is like Psylocke, like a young Psylocke, but no, that's like because she has like a British accent, and I was like, oh, Psylocke in purple hair, but no, this is Mystique. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's been a long time. It was like, so I got fooled. But oh my god, my like next to like the Hank McCoy episode, the first episode with Hank McCoy, the next favorite episode I really enjoyed was the Christmas episode where you introduced Angel, which I already went over his abilities and stuff like that in my Archangel comic book review, which is up on the channel as well. And it just, he goes around doing saving people, and people just claim like, I was saved by an angel, he rescued me. And Magneto makes a return and is trying to recruit him and others, which it didn't take with Angel, but we also see at the tail end that the introduction of Gambit, Colossus, Pyro, tagging along with Sabretooth and Magneto, because Magneto's been recruiting a lot of people to finally make themselves known. Don't know what kind of pitch he gave them, because Colossus we know is very like a big old teddy bear, and Gambit is relatively chill. And I was like, I loved it when like him and Rogue just bump into each other, and he just like charms the heck out of her. She just left speechless, and like probably like got hot in the nether regions immediately. And of course, I like this way to to like really like stir up like the first interaction between Rogue and Gambit, because all through the first half of well, at least up until this point, all through the majority of this season and partway through the first season, Rogue has been like pining after Scott, even though he has eyes for Jean, which these two have like a thing where they kind of like bicker because they get jealous of each other and they just not like expressing themselves because they're freaking teenagers. They don't have to find the right words, even though one's a second and he should know what his just true feelings are. So they also get like a taste of what's come with Jean Grey, with her powers going a bit out of control in the second episode, which will later bring in about the Phoenix Force. Speaking of powerful entities, we also get a taste of Apocalypse. You don't see him, but Mesmero, being like a henchman or acolyte of Apocalypse, hypnotizes Jean Grey, who then starts controlling a few members of the X-Men to commit heists to form this key to unlock the Force barrier or door that imprisons Apocalypse. So I imagine it'll be the final episode where we finally get Apocalypse. But I'm glad we're kind of building to that and not just rushing to it. uh, Spike has a bit of an episode with, you know, where Storm is getting stalked by this Hungan guy who was originally from Africa and a couple of his followers, because when she lived in Africa, she became like their goddess, and whoever god that he was preaching for, they cast aside for a real deity, and he was like bitter and decides to try to stalk and steal her powers and his staff. All the while she's, given she's giving Spike a bit of grief, but Spike also was like, I don't care for this, because this is probably the one episode I really did not care for him, where he acting like, I get it, they're all teenagers, so they're, always got attitudes half the time, but man, he's got like, it's like he got attitude to everybody, because like he was just having to be late and everybody giving him grief. So I guess he's late too often, because his priorities are a little out of whack. They could just teach him how to, like, make something's got to be a priority, but schedule stuff properly. But they quickly jump to, I think it's time for him to probably go back to his parents and stuff like that. Man, y'all went very fast with kicking him out. Of course, he has an attitude because he just wants to stay, which is kind of like an odd switch, because initially he didn't want to go. Now, as he got comfortable being with the team and everything like that, and going on these adventures and meeting all these people, his horizons has been expanded at this point. Now he doesn't want to just relinquish all that. So they could have just done with a good sit down and talk things out, instead of talking behind his back. Confront the kid, well, not confront, but have a sit down, talk with him like an adult. Explain to him that, okay, we need to prioritize certain things because you've been late too often and neglecting your duties. And I get it, you got other stuff that you want to do, and then you got schoolwork you gotta do, and then you got X-Men stuff to do. But you gotta learn how to prioritize which time. Like, you got like school time here, try not to get in trouble, so you want to worry about the tension or anything like that. But I get you want to hang out with your friends or skateboard, whatever. But you got X-Men duties to do. You gotta put that to the side. The extracurricular stuff, you gotta put that to the side and come and do the training if you want to be part of the X-Men. That's what they probably should do. But he comes through at the end by saving Storm from this Hungan guy. And I'm glad they, always every once in a while remind us that Storm has a fear of enclosed spaces. So it's, you gotta, not always harp on her every time you see her, but, it's, like once every couple of times in a series, that's like our Achilles heel. But I don't care for, it's great to highlight these other mutants in this episode where Hank takes them on this kind of nature trip. I don't care with this, like, dealing with these hunters looking for Bigfoot and everything like that. It was boring to me. It could have just dedicated this where these new mutants are sharing time with their teacher and they're learning from each other. There's no kind of obstacle or anything like that. They could have just relegated to that. Adding these kind of hunters is like completely unnecessary and don't really care. What else? We get Trash with the Sentinels, that's coming up. Wild Side, man. It's like I still remember next to the Rogan Shadowcat dancing meme, the next big thing that people remember from the show is that Tabitha, Magma, Jean, Shadowcat, and Rogue all dress in to the nines in goth outfits and do this weird, very early 2000s music video montage of being like badass girls, and we don't need no man to deal with stuff, and they become like vigilantes taking down these kind of like car thieves. And it all originated because as Jean is trying to teach Magma how to use her ability, something's about to fall on them. Of course, Jean would have gotten it, but Scott's knee-jerk reaction was to blast that thing. But she cops an attitude because here's the thing: men should not expect to like always be like, oh, we'll come to the, because at least guys, we're gonna be guys. We're gonna want to like help the ladies if we feel like they're in danger in some kind of way. That's just our knee-jerk reaction. It was going as far back to caveman times to protect the fairer sex. But the thing is, don't come across smug or arrogant about it. And for Jean and the others, you gotta understand, guys gonna want to do that, and don't come off all like. So you don't think we're strong enough to deal with things on our own? Don't get the air of superiority either. Guys will want to help you. No, like you're very capable in your own right. Y'all should be equally peers, but y'all should also complement each other, because there's some things that men should be able to do that a woman can't, powers or not. And women should respect the fact that a guy will want to like help, and not assume that he's doing it because he thinks little of you. That's far from the truth. We don't think like that. At least 98% of men population don't think that way. We just want to help because we just want to help. We is no settled underlining thing behind it. There's no mischievousness behind it or malevolence behind it. So take it as the fact that like he just want to help. But just explain to him calmly and with zero attitude. It's like, Scott, I appreciate you stepping in, but please, I want you to treat me as your teammate. We're teammates. And like, I don't need you to jump in every time you think like, I know it's a delicate dance, but think of it as like a sports team. We all have like a once with enough practice, we all move in like clockwork. But when somebody steps in to assist, when they feel like something going on that the other doesn't know about, they step in to like lend a hand. Don't just come at them with attitude thinking like, I could have gotten that. Don't like this. It wasn't disrespect. That both parties need to understand that. But he learned that lesson in the end, where it's like, Nightcrawler and Scott follows them as they track down these thieves at this chop shop, and of course, without the others seeing, Scott, smash like an item that's about to hit Jean. Jean knew, but she, took a moment and just thanked Scott. It's like, and thank you for not like completely jumping in and undercutting us. But I also want to thank you for catching that when my back was essentially turned. She could have read that, but she, psychics can easily be distracted too. So it was a pretty cool episode. Oh, we also get like, just like in the 90s X-Men show, there was an episode dedicated to Wolverine remembering his time with Captain America in WW2. Here you get almost the same thing. Only difference is they bring up about like the super soldier serum, But here, which I don't like, where it's like debilitating towards Steve Rogers, and it's like the super soldier serum still be working perfectly for somebody like Steve Rogers. That's what made him, like, you know, the greatest hero ever. And how like a crapshoot the super soldier serum is, because it only should work with somebody with like integrity and conviction, like, you know, strength of heart. And that's why, you know, the super soldier serum works so well with somebody like Steve Rogers. But I don't care with like, oh, in this variation it's like, you know, hurting him, and that's why they have to destroy, like, because they the ones that destroyed like the mechanism that gave him his powers, even though it's supposed to be like a serum, and a Hydra terrorist destroyed it, and the scientist who was the only one that knew how to replicate that. So they kind of changed some stuff in this episode, which I really didn't care for, but it's still fun to see like Captain America and Wolverine team up. And we also get like the introduction of Nick Fury, the Caucasian version, the father of the Black Nick Fury, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that's generally what covers the season. I don't care for like Shadow Dance, where you learn about like, yeah, like I went over with Nightcrawler's comic book review, which you can check up on my YouTube channel, where you learn about like because since it's instantaneous, Nightcrawler doesn't know about that separate dimension where that sulfur stuff comes from. But thanks to Forge slowing time down just for a few seconds, he actually peered the surroundings and see what it looks like. And you see, like, it's cool to see what it looks like, but then you get this added thread about like these other little dinosaur looking creatures. Not my favorite episode. It's decent, but it's not my favorite. But also in part one, we also get like the first. It might be because it's Mystique in disguise, but it's also, like I said, Mystique's been manipulating things, and you think at first, because I got fooled pretty well, because it's been a long time since I've seen X-Men Evolution, and you see like Professor Xavier behaving like antagonistically towards Scott, and forcing this team up between the Brotherhood and the X-Men with everybody confused of why this, like, he's doing this. But you learn that Mystique has been manipulating situations, possibly not working for Magneto, because she's like lost faith in Magneto, but she ends up blowing up the mansion, because the mansion always gets blown up in some shape or form in past iterations. But now at the end of it all, the jig is up, all national news. Even like Principal Kelly, who we know for a good stint of time has been like a mutant hater, until a different epiphany comes about and he has a change of heart on his stance on mutants. But he's the new principal to the school now since Mystique is disappeared, Miss Darkholme has disappeared. It's on news channels. Everybody sees the high school students are mutants now, which now that I remember that there's going to be some chastising and mocking again towards season 3. But we'll delve right into that in full detail once I start binge watching that. And of course, the final season is going to be pretty fast because it's only like 9 episodes. But as soon as like X-Men Evolution is wrapped up, I will be getting right into Wolverine and the X-Men. So yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of X-Men Evolution for season 3. Do you remember which episodes that you thoroughly enjoyed and which ones you liked the least? Because 2 of my favorite episodes The Beast of Bayville with the first introduction of Hank McCoy, and Angel's Wings, or On Angel's Wings, with like the Christmas episode with Angel. Those are my 2 favorite episodes in this entire season, honestly. But my favorite scene, honestly, has got to be with Rogue and Gambit meeting each other for the first time, and she just having that, you know, speechless moment, like, oh my God, take me moment. That take me attitude moment. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow for more video game streams of FF16. And yeah, I gotta work like almost every day up until Wednesday of 4th of July. So I gotta for a couple of days it's gonna be like just one thing up until Wednesday. So it might be Street Fighter 6 tomorrow, and then get back to Destiny the next day. But anyway, I'll see y'all soon. Take care. Have a great 4th of July, by the way. And then by the end of the month, I believe I'll be doing my Hot Ones Challenge video. So look forward to that. To just like as a celebration of you guys and all the things that you guys brought for me. It's not gonna be like a 400 subscriber milestone like I initially planned. I haven't gotten that close to it, but I just want to do it anyway. I had to change up the thumbnail for it, but look out for that by the end of July. So anyway, I'll see you all soon. Take care. Be well.